So I am Eric Kaufman, and I'm here at the City of Waco. Sustainability Programs Manager is my title here. And it's been an interesting journey getting here. I'm married to an academic. My wife, Alicia Kaufman, Dr. Kaufman, teaches at Baylor University in the History Department. I started working for a nonprofit organization that was doing energy efficiency work. So specifically focused on residential energy efficiency. We did a lot of training and working with utility programs and putting on conferences and different things around teaching contractors how to do energy efficiency work in homes. And so through that experience, we worked with a lot of utility programs to sort of understand the landscape really across the country, where we're on both coasts and just really in a lot of areas of the country that we're doing this kind of work. And that's what kind of first got me, I guess, I would say at that point is when I really decided that I wanted to sort of focus my vocation on specifically addressing the issue of climate change, energy efficiency being one of those ways of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, carbon emissions in homes from the energy produced that goes into homes. So with this position with the city, it's broader than just energy. It's, I kind of focus really across 5 categories. Basically, I say clean air, clean water, clean energy, food, and waste recycling. But then I wanted to also, get really involved with the local community and find out kind of where sustainability, really touches people's lives, where they're, interested and passionate about in sustainability, and specifically what organizations are doing work in sustainability. And so pretty early on, I connected with Emily Hills, who was new as the director of the Urban REAP program at Mission Waco, and then also at World Hunger Relief Farm. I was looking for some potential funding, some grant funding that could support, some efforts, sort of the intersection of sustainability and local community organizations. And I actually knew about this. It's basically a collection of private foundations through my work up in Iowa, and it's called the Funders Network. One of the private funders that's part of the Funders Network had supported the grant program that I was managing up there. And so this grant program was called Partners for Places. And the requirement for Partners for Places was to create a partnership between city sustainability office and local CBOs, community-based organizations, and then also a local funder who would bring in some matching funds. And so that's really, applying for that grant program is really what kind of initiated what became the Scrap Collective. We started off by applying for essentially a planning grant, what they were calling a mini grant. And so the first year we brought these organizations together to start planning for potentially applying for the grant, the larger grant. One of the requirements was because the grant was also focused on environmental justice issues, and so sort of the intersection of sustainability, addressing climate change, but also, serving disadvantaged communities here. So through that sort of mandate from the grant, it required a equity facilitator. And so that's when I first reached out to Baylor University looking for somebody who could be a good equity facilitator. And I found out about Dr. Stephanie Body. And so we asked her to be our equity facilitator, starting with this mini grant. So this was a process, and I really appreciated the way that she was very intentional about not just rushing along with everything, but just kind of slowly getting the organizations together and through some of these tough issues about what's really going on in these disadvantaged communities, and how do we sort of build trust and understanding of what they need and what they want. And so through that process, we recognized we needed to bring more people into this project the Global Revive in East Waco, and then Family of Faith Worship Center in South Waco, a Spanish-speaking church. One of the things that I realized when I was first starting, and I had reached out to a number of different organizations, just talking to a lot of different people and trying to find the right people to work with on this. And, one of the things that I heard was in East Waco, the city has come in with grants in the past and has been able to provide some resources. And it was more of we're going to come in and do this thing, and here you go. And then the grant's over and we leave, and that's kind of the end of it. And so there's a history, a pretty long history of distrust, in that community, with government and government intervention. And so there was skepticism about, grants. I mean, it's, there's a significant poverty rate, homelessness, a significant population here that is really disadvantaged. It really needs help in a lot of ways, but certainly addressing the effects that we're seeing in terms of extreme heat and, these sudden, winter storms that come out of nowhere. And so those people that just don't have the ability to deal with those emergencies, and obviously the city's, extremely concerned about taking care of those populations. I recognize that there was such a huge need in the Waco community, and this is something that I could see other communities already starting to focus on and address, that emphasis on equity and facilitation. And, we discussed, sort of the power structures and this concept of power shifting. One of the things I think that I've been most excited about, as I mentioned we took some time as we developed the partnerships in that sort of that planning experience, getting ready to apply for the first Partners for Places grant, and realizing that we were missing perspectives in the community, especially within the Spanish-speaking community. And so that partnership with Family of Faith Worship Center, it's been really remarkable to me, just how much they've been serving and the huge need in terms of their food bank and how many people they serve, that they provide food for every week. Mission Waco and the Urban REAP program and World Hunger Release, they had already been operating in this area for, some time in terms of community gardens and composting and things. And so the grant was really about, how do we increase their capacity to, do more of what they're already doing. Whereas Family of Faith, it was all new to them. We were starting up a new community garden there and composting initiatives. And so the whole education of that community sort of sprang up out of the Scrap Collective. It was just a brand new initiative. But Pastor Ruben has been doing a fantastic job leading that effort. And it's been exciting to see how he's been able to expand. I know they're doing more mobile food banks with other churches. And so he's just a great connection point to more churches to expand and educate in terms of, growing their own food and learning about composting and, expanding that message throughout sort of the church community in Waco. It'll be interesting to see in terms of, the food waste diversion and composting. There's a number of ways it could grow. And right now, it's definitely not something that the city, in terms of our fiscal decisions, responsibility to our taxpayers, there isn't a lot of interest in just starting up, curbside pickup of food waste to take to a large commercial composting facility. But I see, the Scrap Collective as this grassroots effort as we educate more of the community about the benefits of keeping food waste out of the trash and composting. And as we continue to build momentum, on that grassroots level, and provide more areas and opportunities for people to take their food waste, more drop-off locations. And as it grows and builds momentum, eventually it would be great if we built into a curbside program and could really cover a significant amount of across the city. Obviously, there's individuals who create a lot of food waste, but then, and that's about 40%. But then the other 60% obviously is on the commercial industrial use. So as we build this thing into a significant ecosystem for how we are moving all that food waste out of the waste stream and into a resource, like composting but yeah, just definitely keeping it from going into the landfill, whether it's 10x or more, the amount of food waste that we're diverting from the landfill, that would be a huge win.